I am feeling a little bit more of shadow in these messages that I am creating today. I think it's because I am dealing a little bit more of with mine. Um, so spiritual awakening and ascending is not always about the bright and fluffy stuff. It is about going in that shadow and being uncomfortable and just sitting in the darkness so that you can understand it and heal from it so that you can keep on the path to not sit in the darkness anymore. Um, so I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about different shadows. Fear is a big one. And there is a lot of different things controlled by fear. So fear of loneliness, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, fear of, there's just a lot. The list is endless with fear. So it's a big one. So a couple of the ones that come up a lot in my sessions is fear of loneliness, and fear of not being good enough. So we'll talk about fear of loneliness first, since I feel like that's a really big one right now. So a lot of people can get stuck in these patterns and these cycles, and the word I want, settling, so that you don't have to feel alone or lonely. But if you take a step out of that energy and you look at your life and you are still feeling alone, you feel alone, maybe unheard, maybe unseen. And it's because you're not meant to be there. You're meant to be somewhere else where you can feel seen by yourself. Most of the time when we feel lonely, it's because we don't feel comfortable being with ourselves, being with our darkness, being with just sitting with ourselves. So it can be kind of tricky. Yeah. So things that you can do to kind of help fear of loneliness is just go within. Open up that journal and write down all the things that you are fearing about being alone or lonely. And then see what action you can take to change that, to shift it, to move forward. And I forgot the other fear that I was going to talk about. Fear of, was it fear of loneliness? Fear of not being good enough? I think that was it. Not being good enough. Okay, so fear of not being good enough. Why? Why don't you feel good enough? Were there patterns that you were told as a kid? Were you always trying to live up to expectations of other people? Were you trying so hard to please people that you forgot about yourself? Which also kind of relates to that loneliness. So a lot of the fears kind of do that weaving in and out, because it's kind of all big one little cluster. So fear of not being good enough. So just take a look inside your heart and see why. Why aren't you good enough? Why don't you feel good enough? Where are the blocks? Where are the beliefs? And how far back do they go? Were they passed on from generation to generation, lifetime to lifetime? What? Where do they start? We dive into that. We see what comes up, and we shift it. We let you know that yes, you are good enough. You are more than enough. But that realization usually has to come from within first, before it can do the ripple effect on outside of your life. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. And just know that you don't have to let these fears overpower your life, because damn it, you are good enough. And you deserve to feel like yourself and like to sit with yourself.